Okay, so let us start. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathambitam Tam Sajivam Sadavaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namahum Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्यनामिने गौरत्विषे नमः हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त श्रीराधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी श्रीराधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी ऋषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये नीलाचलनिवासाय नित्याय परमात्मने बलभद्रसुभद्राभ्यां श्रीजगन्नाथाय ते नमः वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्द हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरो दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्यमीश्वरम् Hare Krishna, we were discussing Bhagavad Gita chapter 11 and we had discussed up till 10:44-45 and therefore we will take it forward from there. So till 45 are Arjuna's prayers, and after that, Arjuna is requesting for beholding or connecting to the two-handed form of the Lord, the two-handed form, the darshan of the two-handed for the Lord. That's what is requesting the Supreme Lord for. So we'll see 10:45 onwards. Yeah. Sorry. 11:45 onwards. Universal form. Yeah. आदृष्टपूर्वं हृषितोऽस्मि दृष्ट्वा भयेन च प्राव्यथितं मनो मे तदेव मे दर्शाय देवरूपम् प्रसीद देवेश जगन्निवास. After seeing this universal form, which I have never seen before, I am gladdened. But at the same time, my mind is disturbed with fear. Therefore, please bestow your grace upon me and reveal again your form as the personality of Godhead, O Lord of the Lords, O abode of the universe. Arjuna is always in confidence with Krishna because he's a very dear friend, and as a dear friend is engladdened by his friend's opulence. Arjuna is very joyful to see that his friend Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead and can show such a wonderful universal form. But at the same time, after seeing that universal form, he is afraid that he has committed so many offenses to Krishna out of his unalloyed friendship. Therefore, his mind is disturbed out of fear, although he had no reason to fear. Arjuna therefore is asking Krishna to show his Narayan form because he can assume any form. This universal form is material and temporary, as the material world is temporary. But in the Vaikuntha planets, he has his transcendental form with four hands as Narayana. There are innumerable planets in the spiritual sky, and each of them Krishna is present in his plenary manifestations with different names. Thus, Arjuna desired to see one of the forms manifest in the Vaikuntha planets. Of course, in each Vaikuntha planet, the form of Narayana is four-handed, but the four hands hold different arrangements of symbols: the conch, shell, mace, and lotus, and disc. According to the different hands, these four things are held in the Narayanas are variously named. All of these forms are one with Krishna. Therefore, Arjuna requests to see his four-handed feature. Arjuna's eagerness is very interesting. At the same time, it teaches us a lesson. Say a devotee wants to see, or a devotee wants to understand Krishna in all possible dimensions one can. Through the universal form, Arjuna could see Krishna's manifestation in everything in matter. Now Arjuna wants to understand Krishna's opulence. So how Krishna manifests through the material energy or in the form of the material energy? How Krishna's opulence? Because we see Arjuna is expressing eagerness, we have to understand that this understanding is important for our spiritual life. And that is why Bhagavatam gives this understanding. And that is why Parikshit Maharaj eagerness was not just when it came to 10th canto. Parikshit Maharaj eagerness is everywhere to go into details. Even in 5th canto, which is cosmology, Parikshit Maharaj is asking details there also. So we see because how Krishna manifests the form of metal energy, how to see Krishna in all spiritual opulences over and above the metal energy, and how to see Krishna in his original Swarupa. These are various limbs of understanding and connectivity to the Supreme Lord. Why we need to understand Krishna's presence through matter? Because we get obsessed by matter. So unless we know what is the route out, when matter is haunting, if we don't know the route out, we'll be obsessed. We'll be completely engrossed, never to come out. But if we know the route out, that how Krishna manifests through matter, how we can see the hand of Krishna in matter, one will be able to reach Krishna. So this figment of revelation in the Shastras, which comes in Gita and Bhagavatam, is basically doorways that when we are confounded with material energy, which is the doorway which can take us towards Krishna. It is this aspect of philosophy which acts like a doorway of how Krishna is manifesting to matter. Why do we need to understand Krishna in opulence? Because we get infatuated with opulence. Or we need to know Krishna's opulence. And that is why we see Arjuna is highlighting on both of these aspects. He's eager. So he wants to understand these. These understandings enrich our relationship with the Purna Purushottam Krishna. And that's why Arjuna is eager for that. And the Lord is revealing that. Okay, let us go to 46. Kiritinam gadinam chakrahastam ichhami tvam drashtumaham tathaiva tenaiva rupena chaturbhujena sahasrbahu bhava vishwamurte. O universal form, O thousand-armed Lord, I wish to see you in your four-armed form, with helmeted head and with club and wheel and conch and lotus flower in your hands. I long to see you in that form. The Brahma Samhita is said, Rama Dimurti Shukalena Niyamena Tishtan. The Lord is eternally situated in hundreds and thousands of forms, and the main forms are those like Rama, Narsimha, Narayana, etc. There are innumerable forms, but Arjuna knew that Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, assuming his temporary universal form. He is now asking to see the form of a Narayana, that is a spiritual form. This verse establishes without any doubt the statement of the Bhagavatam that Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, and all other features originate from him. He is not different from his plenary expansions, and he is God in any of his innumerable forms. In any of these forms, he is fresh like a young man. The constant feature of the Supreme, that is the constant feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Navayovanamcha, fresh like a young man. One who knows Krishna becomes free at once from the contamination of the material world. 47. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Maya prasanne thavarjuneedam rupam param darshitam atma yoga tejo mayam vishwamanantamadhyam yanme twadanyena nadrishtapurvam. Maya prasanne thavarjuneedam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Arjuna, happily have I shown you by my internal potency the supreme universal form within the material world. No one before you has ever seen this primal form, unlimited and full of glaring effulgence. Arjuna wanted to see the universal form of the Supreme Lord. So, Lord Krishna, out of his mercy upon his devotee Arjuna, showed his universal form full of effulgence and opulence. This form was glaring like the sun, and its many faces were rapidly changing. Krishna showed this form just to satisfy the desire of his friend Arjuna. This form was manifested by Krishna through his internal potency, which is inconceivable by human speculation. No one had seen this universal form of the Lord before Arjuna. But because the form was shown to Arjuna, other devotees in the heavenly planets and in other planets in outer space also could see it. They had not seen it before, but because of Arjuna, they were also able to see it. In other words, all the discipling devotees of the Lord could see the universal form, which was shown to Arjuna by the mercy of Krishna. Someone has commented that this form was shown to Duryodhana also when Krishna went to Duryodhana to negotiate with peace. Unfortunately, Duryodhana did not accept the peace offer, but at that time Krishna manifested some of his universal forms. But those forms are different from this one shown to Arjuna. There is clearly said that no one had ever seen this form before. Hey, what is the result of this kind of a revelation? You see, matter is always confusing and bewildering for anybody and everybody. Matter is always intoxicating for anybody and everybody. Therefore, people land up into addictions because matter is always bewildering and intoxicating. That's why addictions. They land up into addictions, become victim of substance abuse and all that. Why? Because that's the nature of matter. To be able to come to the position that one is not affected by the displays of metal energy is a very rare phenomenon. And it requires revelation by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna is saying, I have given the revelation to you about my universal form through my internal potency. That is why we take shelter of the internal potency, Shrimati Radharani. The spiritual master, the guru, is a representative of Shrimati Radharani. So we take shelter of the internal potency, Shrimati Radharani. Because the spiritual master, he is the representative of Shrimati Radharani. Therefore, we have to understand that only through the internal potency we can get the revelation which can disinfect us from Maya or disentangle us from the infatuation of Maya. And that is why a sincere devotee understands that it is only through the instructions of my spiritual master are the only hope, and the scope and hope is all created by the instructions of the spiritual master. Otherwise, everyone stands to get bewildered. Well, my Shakti is like that. See, Arjuna was bewildered. He saw the universal form immediately. No, he got awakened. Otherwise, previously the same situation bewildering to him. Now also he's seeing the same situation. He's seeing the deaths of everybody and all that. But now he's seeing the Supreme Lord in action. Previously, the Supreme Lord was not visible. For many people, how one can survive without the material energy becomes an overwhelming question for many people. I would say, oh, how can I give up material energy? How will I survive? So material existence is possible without slavery to the demands of mind and senses. That revelation is also phenomenal revelation. It is the mercy of the acharyas to give us some opportunity and open doors and alternatives for us. Like you see, the understanding is so rampant and universal all around the world, and people feel that okay, if I have to survive, I need to go work, get a job, and when one goes to get a job, one is uh, submitting himself as a full slave, available slave at the hands of the company and a company drivers. And it may be taxing, it may be anxiety giving, it may be pressure giving, and so on and so forth. But there is no other option which a living entity has. There's actually no other option which anybody had. And because there was no option, even Prabhupada was following the same route. He took a job, he had a wife, he had a child, multiple children. But then he got an option. An alternative was revealed to him by Srila Bhakti Shastri Thakur Maharaj. So he immediately wanted to surrender. And then Srila Prabhupada gave that option to us, to the devotees. And we need not submit our whole life to Maya Shakti. We can be available for the mission of the Lord. But Prabhupada gave that assurance. Krishna will take care. There are thousands of devotees serving in ISKCON temples. Brahmacharis and Grahasthas both. And they don't have any dearth of necessities. How it is happening? Krishna is providing. What is the problem? Father Prabhupada says in one lecture, he said, oh, I think he's talking about some temple in UK and on London. He said, this temple is so magnificent. None of you, by your own power throughout life, can get that much money that you can buy it. Prabhupada said that. How it has come? Krishna is giving. Because we are ready to serve Krishna. Beyond individual capacity to make it happen, Krishna is giving because we are ready to serve Krishna. So Prabhupada gave that option that yes, dedication possible. Why should one remain in a slumber always enslaved by Maya? That's the point. So here we can see the Lord is saying that, oh, I have given this revelation happily to you. न वेदयज्ञध्यानेर्न दानेर्न च क्रियाभिः न तपोभिरुग्र एवं रूपः शाक्याहं न लोके द्रष्टुं त्वादन्येन कुरु प्रवीरा. O best of the Kuru warriors, no one before you has ever seen this universal form of mine. For neither by studying the Vedas, nor by performing sacrifices, not by charity, nor by pious activities, nor by severe penances, can I be seen in this form of the material world. This divine vision the divine vision in this connection should be clearly understood. Who can have divine vision? Divine means godly. Unless one attains the status of divinity as a demigod, he cannot have divine vision. And what is a demigod? Stated in the Vedic scriptures. That those who are devotees of Lord Vishnu are demigods. Vishnu Bhakta Smito Deve. Those who are atheistic, who do not believe in Vishnu, or who only recognize only the impersonal part of Vishnu as the supreme, cannot have the divine vision. It is not possible to decry Krishna and at the same time have divine vision. One cannot have divine vision without becoming divine. In other words, those who have divine vision can also see like Arjuna. The Bhagavad Gita gives the description of the universal form. Although this description was unknown to everyone before Arjuna, now one can have some idea of the Vishwarupa after this incident. Those who are actually divine can see the universal form of the Lord. But one cannot be divine without being a pure devotee of Krishna. The devotees, however, are actually in the divine nature. Who are actually in divine nature and who have divine vision are not very much interested in seeing the universal form of the Lord. As described in the previous verse, Arjuna desired to see the 400 form of Krishna or Vishnu, and he was actually afraid of the universal form. In this word, there's some significant word, just like Veda Yagna Dhyane, which refers to studying the Vedic literature and the subject matter of sacrificial regulations. Veda refers to all kinds of Vedic literature, such as the four Vedas, 18 Puranas, the Upanishads, the Vedanta Sutra. One can study this home or anywhere else. Similarly, there are sutras, Kalpa Sutras, Mimamsa Sutras, for studying the method of sacrifice. Dane refers to charity which is offered to suitable parties, such as those engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas. Pious activities refer to Agnihotra and the prescribed duties of the different castes. And voluntary acceptance of some bodily pains is called tapasya. One can perform all these, that is, one can accept bodily penances, give charity, study the Vedas, etc. But unless he's a devotee like Arjuna, it is not possible to see the universal form. Those who are impersonalists are also imagining that they are seeing the universal form of the Lord. From Bhagavad Gita, we understand that the impersonalists are not devotees. Therefore, they are unable to see the universal form of the Lord. There are many persons who create incarnations. They falsely claim an ordinary human to be an incarnation, but this is all foolishness. We should follow the principles of Bhagavad Gita, otherwise, no possibility of attaining perfect knowledge. Although Bhagavad Gita is considered the preliminary study of the science of God, it is so perfect that it enables one to distinguish what is what. The followers of a pseudo incarnation may say that they have also seen the transcendental incarnation of God, the universal form, but that is unacceptable because it is clearly stated here. And unless one becomes a devotee of Krishna, one cannot see the universal form of Krishna. Hmm. First of all, So one first of all has to become a pure devotee of Krishna. Then he can claim that he can show the universal form of what he has seen. A devotee of Krishna cannot accept false incarnations or followers. Or followers of false incarnations. Yes. Yes. So Prabhupada is making the point here. To get divine vision, one has to become divine. Very important point. We should not understand that Krishna consciousness is cheap. If Krishna is of merciful disposition, that doesn't mean Krishna consciousness is cheap. Krishna consciousness cannot be easily obtained. That is the point. It is durlabha. So Krishna consciousness is not cheap. We just saw how Muchukunda Maharaj served so fervently. And then he became a recipient of Krishna's mercy. When Uddhav ji is speaking about the Gopas and he's saying, oh, the Gopas are playing with Krishna so intimately, with great relish. And Uddhav ji is telling, "Arey, it is not cheap. Millions and millions of lifetimes they have performed tapasya. And now they are getting the falashruti. Krita punya punya, he says. But they have amassed so much of punya karma, this bhakti unmukh punya. We say, oh, Krishna is dancing the gopis are getting to dance with Krishna. No, no, the gopis had done so much sacrifice to obtain Krishna. The Rishikchari gopis, they have been doing tapasya for such a long time. Then they got benediction that, okay, they will get Lord, the Sanitata of Lord Ram. or Krishna that way. The Rishari Gopis. They were the sages in the Karanya. So in this way, we can see that the spiritual life works on revelations, but revelations are not cheap. So that means to be able to become a patra of those revelations, one has to strive. We need to strive hard. And that is why we have to see Krishna consciousness as a rare benediction. We are getting it, we are supremely merciful. And that is why Krishna consciousness, one should be very, very alert to grab on to an opportunity to serve and to put one's whole heart in it, not take it cheaply. Because I was saying to get divine vision, we need to become divine. Otherwise, one will never be able to see things beyond a mundane perspective. That's the point. Let's read further. माते व्यथा मा च विमूढभावो दृष्टारूपं घोरमिदृन्ममेधम् व्यापेतभी प्रीतमन्नः पुनस्त्वं तदेव मे रूपं तदा इदं प्रपश्य. You have been perturbed and bewildered by seeing this horrible feature of mine. Now let it be finished. My devotee, be free again from all disturbances. With a peaceful mind, you can now see the form you desire. In the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna was worried about killing Bhishma and Drona, his worshipful grandfather and master. But Krishna said he need not be afraid of killing his grandfather. When the sons of Dhritarashtra tried to disrobe the Draupadi in the assembly of the Kurus, Bhishma and Drona was silent. And for such negligence of duty, they should be killed. Krishna showed his universal form to Arjuna just to show him that these people are already killed for their unlawful action. The scene was shown to Arjuna because devotees are always peaceful and they cannot perform any horrible acts. The purpose of the revelation of the universal form was shown. Now Arjuna wanted to see the four-armed form. And Krishna showed him. A devotee is not much interested in the universal form, for it does not enable one to reciprocate loving feelings. Either a devotee wants to offer his respectful, worshipful feelings, or he wants to see. Yeah, either a devotee wants to offer respectful obeisance, respectful, worshipful feelings, or he wants to see the two-handed form, so that he can reciprocate in loving service with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You see, material attachments overwhelm us in such a way that one is not able to perform one's duty. This happened to Arjuna. He got overwhelmed seeing Bhishma and Drona. That's why the Lord is revealing that Bhishma and Drona, because of neglectful of the duty in Draupadi mother's insult event, because they did not retaliate, they failed in their duty, and therefore Lord Krishna is saying that they are supposed to be killed. So therefore, service to Krishna should never be stopped. Because if we stop the service to Krishna, then the connection of Krishna is broken. And if the connection to Krishna is broken, then one will be bewildered. That is the guarantee. So you see, connection to Krishna was loose or dilute. That is why Arjuna got bewildered. And then he realized that oh, it's a loose connection. So immediately took a step forward and made his connection tight. How? By 2.7. Karpanya docha upahata svabha. By surrendering to Krishna. A loose connection he was seeing, but then immediately he took a step forward to connect to Krishna. No? So you have to understand by service to Krishna, we are actually connecting to the Supreme. So situations can cause fear, situations can cause anger. No. Only we are connected to Krishna, we can process it. Otherwise, very difficult. So Arjuna is taking a step. And therefore, you see, as a sadhaka, we should also be very alert that am I very deeply connected or not? Am I no, passing whatever I am not interfacing with my senses? Uh, let's read further. Sanjay uvacha iti Arjuna vasudevastatoktva स्वकामरूपं दर्शयानाश भूयः आश्वासयमाश च भीतमेनं भूत्वा पुनः सौम्य वपुर्महात्मा. Sanjay said to Dhritarashtra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, having thus spoken to Arjuna, displayed his real four-armed form, and at last showed his two-armed form, thus encouraging the fearful Arjuna. See, when Krishna appeared as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki, he first of all appeared as four-handed Narayana. But when he was requested by his parents, he transformed himself to an ordinary child in appearance. Similarly, Krishna knew that Arjuna was not interested in seeing the four-handed form. But since Arjuna asked to see this form, Krishna also showed him this form again. Then he showed himself, he showed his two-handed form. The word Samya Vapu is very significant. Samya Vapu is a very beautiful form. It is known as the very most beautiful form. When he was present, everyone was attracted simply by Krishna's form. And because Krishna is the director of the universe, he just banished the fear of Arjuna, his devotee, and showed him again his beautiful form of Krishna. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated, Preman Jana Shurita Bhakti Vilochanena. Only a person whose eyes are smeared with an ointment of love can see the beautiful form of Krishna. Samme Vapuhu, beautiful form of the Lord. Now we say Krishna very confusing. Oh, he's extraordinary, but he behaves as the ordinary. Why it is like that? Oh, Supreme Lord, very confusing. Extraordinary behaving as the ordinary. Why it is like that? Say because unless both the revelations are there, a living entity cannot properly connect to Krishna. Suppose Krishna only reveals the ordinary form, then we will not be attracted to Krishna only. So he is ordinary. So why to connect to him? But if he displays his only extraordinary form, then we'll be very much enamored. Oh, Krishna is so wonderful, so great. Ah, but we cannot do anything more than that. Only when he manifests himself as the ordinary, then we can relate with him and connect to him. Like many times, the devotees explain that you see, no other incarnation one can go so intimate as to Krishna. Go to intimate to Lord Parshuram, no, one will be very fearful. Lord Nrsimhadev, still fearful. No? Lord Ramachandra, still careful. He is the king, the Radha the Raj. So one will be careful. But Krishna is a coward boy. Anyone can approach him. But Krishna is very approachable. And many times we have heard this. So why? Because he is appearing as the ordinary. So therefore, to get inspired or to get encouraged and inspired, to get encouraged and inspired, we need the revelations, extraordinary revelations. But to connect and reciprocate in service and love to Krishna, we need ordinary connections. The extraordinary are not possible. So Krishna is both. Therefore, Krishna is showing his vibhuti, extraordinary darshan also, and then ordinary darshan also. So Prabhupada is quoting Krishna showed 400 form when he appeared to Nandan, no, to uh, Devaki and Vasudev. So why? Because otherwise they'll not understand that he's God. Suppose he was born like an ordinary child, then they will say ये कौन है ना? ये तो है ना? No any है ना? Uh, so therefore extraordinary. But then he was a Shankar Chakra Gada Padma, no? That is how originally he is. Then Mother Devaki and Vasudev, I mean, they understood that he's already Shankar Chakra Gada Padma, so now what? When no any relationship, no any Vatsalyata, no? The Krishna is not needed. He's already Shankar Chakra Gada Padma, taka taka taka, no? Doesn't need anything. How will Vatsalyata take place? So Mother Devaki's request, because her Vatsalya fear was there, so Krishna conceded. So he concealed his Shankar Chakra Gada Padma, became an ordinary child, two-handed ordinary child, completely dependent on his parents. There is Krishna's Vibhuti and mercy. He reveals both the ordinary and the extraordinary, like that. Let's take up 51 then. अर्जुनवाच दृष्टिवेदं मानुषं रूपं तव सौम्यं जनार्दन इदानीमस्मे संवृत्ता सचेता प्रकृतिं गतः. When Arjuna thus saw Krishna in his original form, he said, "Oh Janardana, seeing this human life form so very beautiful, I am now composed in mind and I am restored to my original nature." Here the words Manusham Rupam clearly indicate that the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be originally two-handed. Those who deride Krishna as if he were an ordinary person are shown here to be ignorant of his divine nature. So for that the universal form is revealed. For that the Narayan form is revealed. Understand that Krishna is not ordinary. If Krishna is like an ordinary human being, how is it possible for him to show the universal form and again to show the four-handed Narayan form? So it is clearly stated in Bhagavad Gita that one who thinks that Krishna is an ordinary person and misguides the reader by claiming that it is impersonal Brahman within Krishna speaking is doing the greatest injustice. Krishna is actually shown his universal form and his four-handed Vishnu form. So how can he be an ordinary human being? A pure devotee is not confused by misguiding commentaries on Bhagavad Gita because he knows what is what. The original verses of Bhagavad Gita are as clear as the sun, and they do not require lamplight from foolish commentators. Yeah. 52. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Sudurdarsham idam rupam drishtavanasi yanmama deva piyasya rupasya nityam darshana kangshinaha. The Supreme Personality of God said, "This form of mine you are now seeing is very difficult to behold. Even the demigods are ever seeking the opportunity to see this form, which is so dear." This form of mine, you are now seeing very difficult to behold. Even the demigods are ever seeking the opportunity to see this form, which is so dear. In the 40th verse of this chapter, Lord Krishna concluded revealing his universal form and informed Arjuna that this form is not possible to be seen by so many pious activities and sacrifices. Now the word Sudurdarsham is used indicating Krishna's two-handed form is still more confidential. One may be able to see the universal form of Krishna by adding a little tinge of devotional service to various activities like penances and Vedic study and philosophical speculation. It may be possible, but without a tinge of bhakti, one cannot see. That has already been explained. Still beyond the universal form, the form of Krishna, two hands, is still more difficult to see even for the demigods, like Brahma and Lord Shiva. The desire to see him, and we have evidence from Bhagavatam that when he was supposed to be in the womb of his mother, Devaki, all the demigods from heaven came to see the marvel of Krishna, and they offered nice prayers to the Lord, although he was not at that time visible to them. They waited to see him. A foolish person may deride him, thinking him an ordinary person may offer respect not to him but to the impersonal something within him. But these are all nonsensical postures. Krishna, in his two-armed form, is actually desired to be seen by the demigods. by Brahma and Shiva. In Bhagavad Gita 9:11, it is confirmed, Avajananti mam modaha manushim tanumashritah. He is not visible to the foolish persons who deride him. Krishna's body is confirmed by Brahma Samhita and confirmed by Krishna himself in Bhagavad Gita. Is completely spiritual and full of bliss and eternity. Krishna's body is never like a material body. But for some who make a study of Krishna, by reading Bhagavad Gita or similar Vedic scriptures, Krishna is a problem. For one using a material process, Krishna is considered to be a great historical personality and a very learned philosopher. But he is an ordinary man. And even though he was so powerful, he had to accept a material body. Ultimately, they think that the absolute truth is impersonal. Therefore, they think that from his impersonal feature, he assumed a personal feature attached to material nature. See, this is a materialistic calculation of the Supreme Lord. Another calculation is speculative. Those who are in search of knowledge also speculate on Krishna and consider him to be less important than the universal form of the Lord. Thus, some think that the universal form of Krishna, which was manifested to Arjuna, is more important than his personal form. According to them, the personal form of the Supreme is somewhat imaginary. They believe that in the ultimate issue, the absolute truth is not a person. But the transcendental process described in Bhagavad Gita chapter 4 to hear about Krishna from authorities. That is the actual Vedic process, and those who are actually in the Vedic line hear about Krishna from authority, and by repeated hearing about him, Krishna becomes dear. As we have several times discussed, Krishna is covered by his Yogamaya potency. He is not to be seen or revealed to anyone and everyone. Only by one to whom he reveals himself can he be seen. This is confirmed in the Vedic literature. For one who is a surrendered soul, the absolute truth can actually be understood. The transcendentalist, by continuous Krishna consciousness and by devotional service to Krishna, can have his spiritual eyes opened and can see Krishna by revelation. Such a revelation is not possible even for the demigods. A transcendentalist, by continuous Krishna consciousness and by devotional service to Krishna, can have his spiritual eyes opened and can see Krishna by revelation. Such a revelation is not possible for the demigods. Therefore, it is difficult even for the demigods to understand Krishna, and the advanced demigods are always in hope of seeing Krishna in his two-handed form. The conclusion is that although to see the universal form of Krishna is very, very difficult and not possible for anyone and everyone, it is still more difficult to understand his personal form as Shyamasundar. Lord Krishna says that material opulence, if anybody comes and asks me, I can give that easily, but myself I don't give so easily. So Krishna can give bhukti, mukti, siddhi easily, relatively. So Krishna may give bhukti, mukti, dhanam, janam, and so on easily. But Krishna says, I reserve myself. I don't give myself so easily. And therefore, any devotee desiring to obtain the mercy of the Lord has to pass the test of the spiritual master. Only when one can please the spiritual master and the acharyas by one's dedicated efforts can one receive that mercy and that rare darshan of the Supreme Lord. Prabhupada is saying, Vishwarup darshan is rare and the Shyamasundar darshan is even more rare. The Vishwarup Darshan, the yogis and karmis and all that, they also require a tinge of devotional service to be able to obtain. So it is very, very rare. Naham vede na tapasa na dane na tachejaya. Sakhya evam vidho drashtum. Drishtavana simam yatha. The form you are seeing with your transcendental eyes cannot be understood simply by studying the Vedas, nor by undergoing severe penances, nor by charity, nor by worship. It is not by any of these means that one can see me as I am. See, Krishna first appeared before his parent Devaki and Vasudeva in four-handed form. Then he transformed himself into two-handed form. This mystery very difficult to understand for those who are atheists or those who are devoid of devotional service. For scholars who have simply studied Vedic literature with a grammatical knowledge or academic qualifications, Krishna is not possible to understand, nor is he to be understood by persons who officially go to the temple to offer worship. They make their visit, but they cannot understand Krishna as he is. Krishna can be understood only through the path of devotional service, as explained by Krishna himself in the next verse. Bhaktya tav ananyaya shakya aham evam vidho arjuna नातुम द्रष्टुम च तत्वेन प्रवेशतुम च परन्तप. My dear Arjuna, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am, standing before you, and thus can be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. Krishna can be understood only by the process of undivided devotional service. He explicitly explains this in this verse so that unauthorized commentators who try to understand Bhagavad Gita by the speculative process will know that they're simply wasting their time. No one can understand Krishna or how he came from parents in a four-handed form and at once changed himself to a two-handed form. These things are very difficult to understand by the study of the Vedas or by philosophical speculation. Therefore, it is clearly said here, no one can see him or enter into understanding of these matters. Those who are very experienced students of the Vedic literature can learn about him from the Vedic literature in so many ways. There's so many rules and regulations, but if one at all wants to understand Krishna, he must follow the regulative principle described in the authorized literature. One can perform penance in accordance with those principles. See, for example, to undergo severe penances, one may observe fasting on Janmashtami, the day on which Krishna appeared, and on the 2 days of Ekadashi, the 11th day of the new moon, and the 11th day after the full moon. As far as charity is concerned, Yeah. So he says if one want to understand Krishna, then one will follow the regulative principle. Like Prabhupada saying fasting, like charity should be given to the devotees of Krishna who are engaged in devotional service to spread Krishna philosophy or Krishna consciousness. So Krishna consciousness benediction to humanity. Lord Chaitanya was appreciated by Rupa Goswami, the most beneficent man of charity, because love of Krishna is very difficult to achieve or distributed freely by him. So, if one gives some amount of his money to the persons involved in distributing Krishna consciousness, that charity given to spread Krishna consciousness is the greatest charity in the world. And if one worships as prescribed in the temples in India, there is always some statue, usually Vishnu or Krishna. So then there is chance of to progress by offering worship and respect to the Supreme Lord. For the beginners in devotional service, the temple worship is essential. This is confirmed in Vedic literature, Shveta Shvata Upanishad 623. Yasya para bhakti yatha devi tatha guru. तस्यैव कथयेत हि अर्थ प्रकाशन्ते महात्मनः. One who has unflinching devotion for the Supreme Lord and is directed by the spiritual master in whom he has similar unflinching faith can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead by revelation. One cannot understand Krishna by mental speculation. For one who does not take to personal training under the guidance of bona fide spiritual master, it is impossible to even begin to understand Krishna. The word tu is specifically used here to indicate that no other process can be used or can be recommended or can be successful in understanding Krishna. So the personal forms of Krishna Su Durdarsham, very difficult to see. They are completely different from the temporary universal form shown to Arjuna. 400 form Narayana, 200 form Krishna, eternal, transcendental. Whereas the universal form exhibited is temporary. The word Tad Anyena Nadrishta Purvam state that Arjuna, before Arjuna, no one had seen that universal form. They suggest that among devotees there is no necessity of showing it. The form was exhibited by Krishna on the request of Arjuna so that in future, when one represents himself as an incarnation, people can ask to see his universal form. The word na, which is used repeatedly in the previous verse, indicates that one should not be very much proud of such credentials, such as an academic education in the Vedic literature. One may take to devotional service, must take to devotional service of Krishna. Only then can one attempt to write commentaries on Bhagavad Gita. Krishna changes from the universal form to the four-handed form of Narayana, then to his natural form of two hands. This indicates the four-handed form, and the forms mentioned in the Vedic literature are all emanations from the two-handed Krishna. He is the origin of all emanations. Krishna is distinct even from these forms, what to speak of the impersonal conception. As far as the four-handed forms of Krishna are concerned, it is clearly stated that even the most identical four-handed form of Krishna, which is known as Mahavishnu, who is lying on the cosmic ocean and from whose breathing so many universes are passing in, out, and entering, is also an expansion of the Supreme Lord. As stated in Brahma Samhita, the Yasai Ganesh Vasita Kala Matha Vilamba Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jagadandanath Vishnu Mahan Saiva Yasya Kala Visheshu Govindamadi Purushantamaham Bhajami. The Mahavishnu into whom all the universes, innumerable universes enter, and from whom they come forth simply by his breathing process, is a plenary expansion of Krishna. Therefore, I worship Govinda, Krishna, the cause of all causes. Therefore, one should conclusively worship the personal form of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has eternal bliss and knowledge. He is the source of all the forms of Vishnu. He is the source of all incarnations. He is the original personality, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. The Vedic literature, the following statements appears. सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय कृष्णाय क्लिष्टकारिणे नमो वेदान्तवेद्याय गुरवे बुद्धिसाक्षिणे. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Krishna, who has a transcendental form of bliss, eternity, and knowledge. I offer my respect to him because yeah, understanding him means understanding the Vedas. So he is therefore called the supreme spiritual master. See, then it is said, Krishna Vai Paramam Daivatam, Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. This is Gopal Tapani Upanishad. Ekavasi Sarvagaha Krishna Idya. That one Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead and he is worshipable. Eko Pisan Bahudayo Vibhati Kaman. Krishna is one, but he has manifested in unlimited forms and expanded in the incarnations. Now Brahma Samhita is saying 5.1 Ishvara Paramakrishna Satchidananda Vigraha Nadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Krishna, who has a body of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. He has no beginning, for he is the beginning of everything. He is the cause of all causes. See, elsewhere it is said, Yatra Vatir Nam Krishnakhyam Paramam Brahma Narakti Narakti. The Supreme Absolute Truth is a person, his name is Krishna, and he sometimes descends on this earth. Similarly, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we find a description of all kinds of incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in this list, the name of Krishna also appears. But then it is said that this Krishna is not an incarnation of God, is the original Supreme Personality of God. Because Ete Chamsha Kala Pumsa Krishna Stu Bhagwan Swayam. Similarly, in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Matta Parataram Nanyat. There is nothing superior to my form as the personality of Godhead Krishna. He also states elsewhere in Bhagavad Gita, Aham Adir Hidevanam. I am the origin of the demigods. And after understanding Bhagavad Gita from Krishna, Arjuna also confirms in the following words. Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavan. I now fully understand that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth, and you are the refuge of everything. Therefore, the universal form which Krishna showed to Arjuna is not the original form of God. The original form is Krishna. The universal form with its thousands and hundreds of heads and hands is manifested just to draw the attention of those who have no love for God. So it is not God's original form. The universal form is not attractive for pure devotees who are in love with the Lord in different transcendental relationships. See, the Supreme Lord exchanges transcendental love in his original form of Krishna. Therefore, to Arjuna was so intimately related with Krishna in friendship, this form of the universal manifestation not pleasing. It was fearful. Arjuna was a constant companion of Krishna, must have transcendental eyes. He was not an ordinary man, therefore, he was not captivated by the universal form. This form may be seen wonderful to persons who are involved in elevated themselves a fruitive activity, but to persons who are engaged in devotional service, the two-handed form of Krishna is most dear. So, my dear Arjuna, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am, standing before you, and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter the mysteries of my understanding. See, philosophical speculation only triggers some positive motivation to move forward. So, look here, let me not go in the direction of material life, but let me go in the direction of Krishna. That's what philosophical speculation can do. One is only covering the platform of philosophical speculation, is actually not exactly knowing where to go. And that's why you see the Jnani is also confused, and the impersonalist is 100% confused. And even the yogi is bewildered and confused. They don't go further from there. They get lost. So yogis are after siddhis, but not only you can attain siddhis, you can create siddhis also. Like yesterday, uh, we heard that Mayadana's son, he was able to create different siddhis, newer, newer. He was able to create illusions, different, different illusions. Mayadana's son, Bala or Bala, Bala. So you see, austerity, penance, philosophical speculation, all of them can give a positive trigger, but one has to know where to go. So austerity, penance, everything can, no, charity, everything in its right position can be offered to Krishna. But Gyanis don't know only where to go, they keep hovering around. They say neti, neti, neti. Not this, not these, not these. Like that, they keep roaming around the whole world and keep saying not this, not this. And then they get fried out and tried out because they are not getting anything. Because not this, not this, not this, they are not getting anything. And the yogis, they are getting illusion after illusion. So therefore, Prabhupada is saying that when one understands that Supreme Lord Krishna is my goal, then all these austerities, penances, charity, and everything can be offered, are rightly situated because everything will increase our acceleration towards Krishna. But if Krishna is not there, then this acceleration, if Krishna is not there, then this increase of acceleration is going where? Is not going anywhere. Simply creating the heat of the atmosphere. So why aruya krichena param padam tataha patanti adho? Why patanti adho is happening? Because simply heat is created, nothing else. So therefore it is Sharanagati which can give us revelations. And that is why this purport also, Prabhupada is emphasizing on the fact, Su Durdarsham. Do Durdarsham. Doordarshan. Very, very rare. And therefore, whatever no, devotee should be very enthusiastic and opportunistic. In whatever way one gets an opportunity to please Krishna, one should grab it. So Doordarshan. Very, very, very rare. Okay, so let's stop here for today. So I believe this ends the 11th chapter. Our next class will begin with chapter 12. अनंतराज श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, हरि बोल।
जय
हरे
जय
हरे कृष्णा शिव कुमार प्रभु, हरे कृष्णा रवि प्रभु, हरे कृष्णा विश्वदीप प्रभु।
हरे कृष्ण
अमर
हरे कृष्ण
Thank you for joining. Hari Bol.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.